I'm Bailey of Bailey and Lizzie. Thank you so much for being here. So as I said, I'm Bailey Schomburg. This is Lizzie Peterson. And I just want to say, as the co-curators of the Observable reading series, we're humbled, truly, and honored to see so many faces in here. This is really, really beautiful and really special. You braved the frigid St. Louis February to show up for the arts, for poetry specifically. And I can say that poetry, the act of writing it, of reading it, of hearing it, of living it, has, and this is not an overstatement, especially after hearing what Jen just said, changed and saved many lives in this room. I was taught early on that poetry is soul conversation, and to engage in soul conversation, to hope, to channel, to document, to grieve, to create, is a revolutionary act. Gathering as a community to celebrate this work is what waters the tendrils of survival and progress. So please do it. I want to see it. Give yourself a little pat on the back. Thank you for those of you who did. Love you for that. So the most important word I will say tonight is welcome. This doesn't happen without you. We are so glad you're here. Please stay and please come back. And a huge welcome to our poets of the night, Jacqui Germain and Alison Rollins. Thank you for celebrating and sharing poetry with us tonight. A few housekeeping items before Lizzie comes up to introduce Jacqui. Restrooms are in the back. I have a little note that says point. My right, your left, most of you left. And there's a cash bar in the back as well. Please tip your bartender, okay? We love that here. We would like to thank Erin Quick and Dana Levin, as well as the rest of the St. Louis Poetry Center Program Committee. If you are on the program committee, can you just shoot your hand up in the air? Yeah. Yes, thank you. Lots of hours to make this happen. We would also like to give a hearty thanks to our funders, the Missouri Arts Council, Regional Arts Commission, and St. Louis Poetry Center members. You can become a member tonight if you'd like. We would like it. Jen has there's a QR code. We're all about the QR codes these days. You can just do the thing from there. If that is not accessible to you for any reason, see Erin. Erin is right over there. Our sweet Erin. Thank you also to our partners, High-Low, Kransberg Arts Foundation, and Left Bank Books. A thank you to those who are here tonight to help us with practical things that poets tend to be bad at, like lights and access and sound and opening doors and, things like that. And a reminder that books are for sale through Left Bank Books at the table in the back. Give us a wave, handsome human. Amazing. So I am going to now ask Lizzie to come up and intro Jacqui. But first, I want to say thank you to my fearless co-curator who brought me on to do this thing with her. She is the definition of passion and community, truly. I've never met someone so dedicated to other people's poems. It's a gift to the art and to us. So, Lizzie, get your butt up here.
Did not see that coming, but thank you. Yeah, I think, it's nice to give a nod to all the work that goes into making a night like this really natural and easy for everybody. So, hold on, I forgot a prop.
Oh, prop. Where it is.
You gotta sell the merchandise, you know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna try really hard to make this intro fitting for a reader and not too heavy, you know, on the love, but keep to the spirit of what I wrote here. So I'll just start. I am so thankful for this book. Jacqui Germain's first full-length collection, Bittering the Wound, selected for the 2021 Center for African American Poetry and Poetics Prize, and the 2024 winner of the Kingsley Tufts Discovery Award. This book, it records the events of the Ferguson Uprising that broke out 10 years ago. And I had the privilege to teach one of its poems alongside my beautiful outside Lit Mag co-curators at Gateway, with this beautiful one right here in the room, Miss Colette Morgan. And I got to teach this poem by the grace of the gays, which also appeared in River Styx magazine. These high school students at the time, right, they're younger than 8 years old when all of these things happened in our region. And so it was this beautiful experience to get to like share with them a little bit of the world and the like power of Jacqui's poems. And this particular poem, it kind of breaks into two. There's these two versions as you read it. The one that just goes line by line, and the one part of the poem that's the left margin, each of those words. And there's a little space that kind of breaks in there. And getting to see their faces light up. Yeah, are you flipping to that poem? Yeah, you're like, I want to read it. Yeah, so, and then it, on that left margin, it reads, "What a bitter gift to be caught beneath the glass." And in our conversations with the students, we got to really dig in. We're talking about all these misconceptions about St. Louis, right? They're talking about Emo's Pizza, but they're also talking about public safety, right? Like everything is rolled up in that conversation. We get into those paradoxes of being from St. Louis, where if somebody's from the outside is talking about our home, we're like ready to fight. But if it's amongst ourselves, we can't agree. And we're fractioned ourselves. And some of them even talked about what they thought that grace of the gays like meant, what it felt like. Especially that last line, they loved that last line, by the way. That innocent, the magnifying glass. An innocent tool until the sun shines through. This image, we get to kind of sit there with, oh, what does a magnifying glass do? That potential blaze when it literally lights in their faces when they're kind of putting the two and two together in a beautiful way. It's a surprise and it's a warning. And then after that, we made erasure poems. So we handed out papers of different texts, anywhere from like something really dry, like the book Mapping the Decline about St. Louis. And then I showed them FBI files that had been released from James Baldwin. That was a fun one. And then also a science text, or this one I'm gonna read from a student is an erasure from a book about owls. And her poem, Alicia Q of Gateway High School, I don't know if she's still there or not, but is titled, "Where Trees Are Scarce." Nesting somewhere nearby, usurped by time, great horned owlets, born in the ground, year round, call from the nest, clue. Out afar from your car, study the great horned, the horned owl, its spotted scope, are sure lure birds like many other owls. Whew. It's just incredible, the poems that the kids get to make when they're getting so inspired by poems like Alison's and Jacqui's, which have both been shared in that classroom. So, lots can be said, and we're gonna hear these beautiful poems from Jacqui from this book and possibly others, but I just wanted to say that I'm so thankful for Jacqui's work, for artists and activists like Jacqui who have helped us document these events in our region. I'm thankful for Alicia's poem, that I get to sit here with it myself and enjoy it and think about it. And I'm thankful for Jacqui's continued journalistic coverage of all of these issues in our region, right? This is where you're gonna be like, oh my God. She's been published everywhere, literally everywhere. Teen Vogue, she did a long, beautiful fellowship there, as well as had work published in The Nation, Vice, New York Times. I could go on. I'm thankful that she still calls St. Louis home. I'm thankful that she's joined us here tonight. And I hope you'll give her a warm welcome. Jacqui Germain.
That was so sweet. Oh, God. Okay. I think in these moments, one of the things that I'm reminded, I feel really lucky to be a poet, to be an artist, but it is so deeply meaningful to be like seriously read and considered. And I feel lucky to have that opportunity to have sort of celebratory events around being read and deeply considered. But it very much reminds me that all of us, artists or not, are like deserve that kind of attention and care and consideration and dignity. So thank you for that. And thank you to all of you guys for being in the room. I think hats off to all the folks who ever do logistics for these kinds of events, these kinds of series. As a poet who gets to just show up and read poems, so much gratitude for all of the email threads, for all of the late nights, for all of the work, the hours, folks who are behind the scenes making this stuff work. Thank you to all of you. Thank you to the folks who are working behind the bar, all of those folks, right? That kind of stuff is really important to like level set that like I'm on a stage, but like would like to feel like I'm in community with you guys as well. So thank you so much for being here. I've been thinking a lot about what I want to focus on, what I kind of want to talk about when it comes to this book, because the uprising was 10 years ago now, and I'm at the point now where I'm sort of like reading the book in front of young people who, just like you said, were babies, were children who maybe saw clips of it on the news, but really don't have a frame of reference for it. And so it's a reminder that the conversation, these moments, even the political conditions that we were faced with at that period, that those things evolve, right? I think some people talk about the uprising as a crisis. I think it's more accurately understood as a moment of rupture that was born out of multiple crises that had been ongoing, right? That had been ignored, that had been unattended to, that had been exacerbated. And it's a reminder that we're in a new moment now, right? That we've seen moments of rupture in Atlanta, in Baltimore, in Minneapolis, and other parts of the country. But even in this moment, the kind of sense of instability and maybe panic and sort of fraught feeling that a lot of us might be feeling in this moment, that this is also not new, that this moment of instability, this moment that feels like potentially a rupture is also born out of crises that have been ongoing, right? And so if we want to prevent these kind of moments, if we want to attend to these kind of moments, I think for me, one of the lessons that I'm bringing into this moment and beyond is that these are not isolated, right? And part of the job in these unstable moments is to be each other's stability, right? One of the things that I learned as being part of the uprising was that even at our best, in moments of crisis, we very often are not each other's stability, even when we're trying to fight for each other's lives, right? In this moment, looking forward, it's something to aspire to. I think it's really important and really deeply humbling to remember that a lot of us don't know how to be each other's stability yet, but it is worth learning how, right? A lot of the poems that I'm going to read obviously have to do with the uprising, but are going to focus more on the way that people and communities can be fractured in these moments, even when they are trying their absolute best. And kind of the fallout from that kind of instability and frustration and like very deep love, but humans being humans are gonna human, right? This is called Ulcer with Footnotes. This is in response to a 2015 performance poem in which a poet repurposed Michael Brown's autopsy. There's some poets in the room who might remember that happening. In this one, he writes the same poem about Michael Brown's autopsy, pulling the bones up out of the bleach and splaying the wet bounty across a thick metal table. a string of footnotes lolling off the page's bottom lip like a row of confettied news stories brightening under a harsh and hungry light. In this one, he writes the same poem, and instead of the quick trip, someone douses a stack of canonized text in flame, the pages roaring in protest against their charred and curled edges. Maybe that, or some other nightmarish destruction that poets grieve in theory. In this one, he writes the same poem, and the lining of my stomach begins to curdle. The theory is the world is burning, and so might the books. The theory is to save the books, we burn something else. The theory is anything can be fodder for anything. In this one, he writes the same poem, and my body retches across the stage, covers the microphone in the blood-wet applause of last night's dinner. Reverse burial, the machine's gears clicking the casket back up into the hungry, hungry world again. How small and wanting to experiment into the void of another life. How gratuitous the gaping mouth, the loud, gnawing hunger wonder in the direction of someone else's grief, because art, because. Thanks. I should also say my background, my background is in slam poetry, so that's one of my fellow slam homies. So feel free to make noise, right? Like I'm used to like being like in a bar, right? Like there's tons of whatever. So feel free to like be a person, be a person, you know? Okay. This is like stats, so just like it's fine. It's cool. This is called On the Chemical Properties and Uses of Dried Blood. Months later, Wes Florissant is a swollen jaw of chipped teeth. Its tongue, still stained with the taste of blood, licks its lips slowly, reminds itself of the borders of its own face. August scratched open all its throats, stretched the tar in its skin so tight it pulled out blood from between the crevices, from the doorways of gums and split lips. And within hours, the whole country's fist was plunged into its messy gut. The fingers flexed, began to poke the warm heat of the pavement. And by November, the fist had retreated, and with it, palmfuls of blood. For testing, for study, and for inspection, for research, for relic, for blessing, and for art and decoration, to document, to share, to note its odd color, to archive, to display on Instagram, to taste, to shine at your friends over coffee, to remember, and to belong. How useful the bleeding. How fascinating the shape a city collapses into after it's drained. How some bodies are most recognizable when there is only blood. How some body studies are only seen when they are screaming. And the fist's wake was a hollow hand-shaped crevice of scalped air, so clean that it appeared at first as tear gas inverted, some kind of weird ghost existing only in the moment between a freshly launched canister and its paralyzing bloom. One of the other things that is always fun to remember, so I was a college student at the time, and I think one of the things that was like particularly confusing for me was figuring out how to go to a protest and then go to class the next morning and like do assignments. Assignments that were like really interesting, right? But I just like couldn't. I think that was, in that moment, a kind of fracturing that I didn't know how to metabolize, and turned it into a poem. This is called Self-Portrait Framed in Life Between Protests. I know it's Thursday, but the Friday is tonight and the Monday is tomorrow. Did you email the meetings? The minutes? Have you emailed Wednesday is tomorrow? At 6 p.m.? At the church with the chairs? In the basement? After the raid, we moved the Tuesday to Saturday. Do you know how to get in? After the raid, we have to be careful. Have you slept? Charged your phone. Did you get my email? The email. About Sunday, the next one. No, it's the next one. I know it's Wednesday, but the Monday is tomorrow, and we had to push the Thursday to Friday. The Thursday to Friday. You have class then. What? What? Oh, I know. My paper was due last week. It's Thursday, and we still don't know the agenda. For Saturday, did you pick up the food? Have you organized? Yet? Is it tomorrow yet? Yesterday said, don't forget the emails. The meeting Monday, Sunday, and the paper due at midnight. I sent you a message on Facebook about coordinating rides. Have you? Have you? Yet? No? Where? It's already Sunday and we need to know by. This poem is called On This Day for Antonio Martin. The clouds pulled apart from themselves like a damp napkin splitting its own skin. When it came, the night brought a pack of wolves between its gums. There were at least 50 of us, the fresh, sickly, syncopated beat of another one bumping through our clammy joints. The lights of the gas station turned the scene theatrical, a cluster of officers lacing navy and black through the pumps. An arm, and then another arm. Someone yanks the sleeve and a knee bobs towards the pavement, an elbow pressed against someone's chin, and suddenly the bodies are a twist of limbs, slipping around themselves like a fist of particles, frantic and near materialized another creature altogether. It's December. The news cameras have found a newly gouged universe in another city. Humvees in St. Louis are old news. Always hands in handkerchiefs, a black person alive in the knot and the tortured pixels of some video footage, a wall of rubber and metal rippling across the street, and we, the weary with our soured nerves, turn rotten and bitter with repetition. New gas station dressed in the ash of the old one. There are no news cameras, no witnesses. And our anger comes unbridled, ballooning and buckling against the skyline. We snarl, snap our teeth, flex our forearms, pace through the wet grass. But by the time the brawl begins, it's overdue. Already too late to temper the adrenaline preceding it. We'd been licking our teeth at each other for months now, St. Louis and St. Louis again. The news outlets tongue another city's cracks, and it's just us now. The novelty having withered into the winter. My, how hungry we've been, how eroded our faith in whatever mercy or fear stopped us before now. A flashbang erupts and the scattering is reflexive. My thighs jerk suddenly in the opposite direction. I lose my left shoe, my breath, everyone I arrived with. I'm standing on the tar, lopsided, jarred but steady now, the wet ground soaking into my left sock, and that's it. That's the whole story, I swear. But sometime, before or after the quick trip across the street was set ablaze and a single cop sauntered across towards the melee with an AR-15 tight against his chest, and a friend ran towards the flame to warn people, and I had a vision of him peppered with bullets. So I screamed and cussed him clean the hell out, and while his jacket vanished into the crowd, and sometime before or after, we were arguing with 3 police officers anchored in line beneath the gas station's overhang about this impossibly large, broken American thing, and we were shaking our hands, and they were rolling their eyes, and another friend burst into tears, and I'd never seen him cry before, and he couldn't stop. And I saw him fighting it, you know, the kind of cry so fresh and foreign, it comes out of a man confused and sputtering. And so I hit him in my shoulder until it passed, but that's it. That's the whole story, I promise. I swear. Thank you. The 6th poem is called What is Known as Paranoia or Maladjusted Self-Defense. I should say one of the things that I learned about the book after it was done, because I didn't notice when I wrote it, was that I don't have a ton of poems about like me as an individual in the book. A lot of poems about protest and collectives and like masses of people. I think I was really hyper aware of the way that individuals can be plucked from a community in a way that is not true of the experience of being in the community. So I really wanted to kind of counteract that by thinking in a different way about what it means to write poems about the experience. But there are a couple of poems that have me there. And this is one of them. This is called What is Known as Paranoia or Maladjusted Self-Defense. There is never any warning. To be honest, I tend to create the history after the fact. Once the face is shattered, the bridge full of tumors and rotting wood, I discover the long oozing sore, the burning path that might suggest a long-standing infection, evidence which here means I'm not paranoid. See the line of ash and arson, the collapsed metaphors that might tug the condemnation free if only, but it has always been this way. without warning, suddenly recognizing no one and finding the weapon in all of it. I am so afraid I am embarrassed, attacked vividly somehow by every expression that creases their lips to say, I swear what I know, they must believe about me, must see across the glass this worst remains, bloodless, heartless, an old aging monster, perhaps. I lick my nails until they glisten, slicing the light to ribbons, clawing the faces, the memories, the open curtains and upholstery, shattered glass between my knuckles. And once home, I swear I know I have defended something, like myself, perhaps. I coddle my lonely, rich with isolation, near gluttonous with it, an excess of self-absorption probably, but still, the walls, now 6 guillotines high, just as precise and unforgiving, circle my wet body, supremely naked and de-skinned, stinging and joyous, cringing against the cold air like a newborn or a feral beast, and suddenly so clean it does not recognize itself beneath the moonlight. Tiny dots of blood forming slowly atop the freshly raw casing, that skittish layer of underflesh that peels its eyes open, stunned and aware, but calm, finally. I'm gonna read 3 more poems and then run away. Might run all the way home, just kidding. Okay. Okay. This poem is called Kindling. 1. Today I am broken, collapsed and balancing only on the thin anchor of my heels. There is a black man I know who wants me fractured and feasible for the flame. I know because he told me so. Pressing the sun into my teeth, he tells me I am lucky for the warmth, that I carry the soot so lightly on my lips and eyelashes, so graceful I am with the scalded skin webbing across my back. Having spent years making a crown of my own forgiveness, he tells me to cover myself in ash for him, and all the while, my bones are flacking away in the heat, shimmering into orange sparks that refuse the body if they cannot be whole. But he still asks me for this. Me, now, bodiless, hot and swirling. Despite both our houses turned to kindling, despite the cloud smoke, the clogged lungs, dusted with the charred remnants of a whole thing, he still says, burn for me like a lost boy searching for the sunrise by burning down the sky. 2. There's a black man I know who is jealous of the way I can be consumed. He tells me, the way white men hunger after the dream of your body breaking between their palms means you will always exist, even if only between someone else's teeth. My jaw slips askew, loosens into a monstrous gaping wound that will gush itself to fill every void. Can I not be more than carcass? If I am to be edible, let me fill the gut with rage and rot. Watch me bring ruin with my limbs attached. I will loose all the injury and it will coat the whole world, and I will become a spigot for all my most careful survivals. I will loose my tongue and instead I will eat and eat and eat and enjoy it. I am learning the forsaken also forsake others, and before I weep for him, I will show him what I have learned to become when men try to swallow me whole. 3. Hallelujah for our matching combustible throats. Hallelujah for the wild exhaustion that has left us desperate for fire. Hallelujah for the fire, I love you. Hallelujah for my arms, I love you, the kindling. For the kindling's ability to feed everything, for everything to be able to eat me, I love you. Hallelujah that you expect me boundless. Everything you are most grateful for after I am ash, here the sun in my teeth, because unity, because you think, hallelujah, black women were made to bleed in exchange for this. My sternum cracked in the heat for this. I love you, hallelujah, I am so tired, beloved. I don't owe you a martyr. My flesh is not a hearth for your teeth. Hallelujah, you will not make a home of me. To demand myself body rather than metaphor is not selfish. Hallelujah, your violence is not an heirloom. It is the thing, after the whole house is gone, after the clouds have gorged themselves on smoke and soot, that the fireman will lean over, pointing. There is where it began. This poem is called All the Love We Had Back Then Survived the Smoke. I will say one of the things that has been really heartening to think about and reflect on is the practice of love in these moments, which feels hard and tough and inconvenient and frustrating. But thinking about that then, how we did it well, how we did not do it well, thinking about that now, how we do it well and do not do it well and can learn to do it better, is something that I'm still sitting with. This is called All the Love We Had Back Then Survived the Smoke. When I say I love you, I mean, I got you. I mean, I don't know you, but do you need a ride? I mean, get in the car for sure. I mean, hold up, you okay? You good? You need some water? You need a charger? I mean, I got you. I mean, wait, don't forget to charge your phone and don't forget to eat today to get some sleep. When I say I love you, I mean, watch your back, nigga, they're coming up the side street. I mean, I bought extra Maylocks, extra water, tilt your head into a stranger's palms. I got you. Holy baptism in the midst of the fire. I mean, open your eyes, honey. I know it hurts, but I got you in the midst of the brimstone too. When I say I love you, I mean, here are some extra face masks, or you got a scarf or something. Who are you looking for? Where'd you park? Can you get to your car? What's your name? I got you. I mean, I'm scared too. I mean, watch your fucking back, fam. And by fam, I mean family or an extended appendage of this wild beloved thing. I mean, I recognize you. I got you. I mean, I wrote the jail support number on my arm for you too. When I say I love you, I mean, don't throw that and also fuck it. But don't say that and also fuck it. I mean, we don't say stupid shit like that here. No, homie, we don't play that homophobic shit here. I love you and you too. I mean, I got you and you too. I mean, I love you too much to let that slide here. When I say I love you, I mean, grab him, watch him. Don't let them pull that shit tonight. I mean, see those babies throwing rocks? Watch them. I mean, help her. I got you. Get her up. I mean, make sure she finds somebody she knows. Get her some water. I mean, you can have mine. I mean, be careful, but also fuck it. When I say I love you, I mean, hold her head steady. I mean, I know, honey, I know it hurts. Breathe, steady, honey. I know, breathe, I got you. You hear me? I mean, open your eyes, hun. I know it hurts. I mean, breathe, honey. I mean, I got you. We got you. Can you feel my hand under your neck? Listen to the sound of my voice. Lean on me and we'll pour it real quick. Relax. I mean, breathe, hun, breathe. I mean, I got you, okay? How does it feel now? How do you feel? Can you breathe? Sit up. You good? Blink, baby, blink, blink. I got you. You good? Can you see? You okay? You? Okay? You? Are you okay? This last poem, I should say, I was very, 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 very excited to submit this poem to the James H. Nash Poetry Prize, and was very lucky to have it win. Yeah, it was really cool. The local stuff is always so much cooler, you know, like, but yeah, so I'll read that and then run away. Okay, so this is called Pick One, it says. 1. After a nightmare. On a cool night empty of moon, my mind reshuffles its terror into a fresh swatch of colors fanned across my eyelids. Pick one, it says, as I fall asleep, my skin a kaleidoscope of leaking holes. I think, yes, this makes sense. Some days there is a whole ankle lodged in my throat, toenails digging into my kidneys, dragging my torso across the city. Some days my body reshuffles itself to get a better view, streamlines the blood flow with a new current. Don't worry, in this version you survive, but without your collarbone. In this version you do survive, but hairless, skinless, breathless. In this version you still survive, but dismembered. Your legs there and there, your elbows there and there, an eye socket rolled here, your pelvis shattered there. In this version you survive and swallow the meetings, the hours, The marches exhausted, the tears, the gas, the laughter, the dead phones and lost friends behind the trees. But the police line looked like it was moving towards the mouth of the parking lot, and there's a fence back here, y'all. There's a fence back here. We can't get out this way. They'll kill us. They'll kill us. Run, not that way. Run. Come back here. They're gonna go behind that building and block the alley off. They're blocking the alley. Go, go. Did you see where he went? I can't find him. Can't find him. Go, go, go. Come here. Call me when you get. Call me when you get to the car. Can charge your phone. Get back home. Safe. 2. After a nightmare, the body responds. Don't be mad at me for this. It is a gift to watch the terror congeal in your sleep and see you survive it again. Look at you, shocked upright in your bed by your own screams. Look at you, sobbing the abyss off your skin. Look at you, all terrified and still here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jacqui. Okay. So I'm grateful for the opportunity to introduce Alison. I'll start with some of your accolades because there are many, but I want to give you your flowers a little bit so that people know. Alison C. Rollins was awarded a 2023-24 Harvard Radcliffe Institute Fellowship and named a National Endowment of the Arts Literature Fellow in 2019. In 2021, her essay, Dispatch from the Racial Mountain, won the Gulf Coast Prize in Nonfiction. Her work across genres has appeared or is forthcoming in American Poetry Review, Black Warrior Review, Iowa Review, the New York Times Magazine, and elsewhere. And these are truly only a few. Rollins is the author of Black Bell out of Copper Canyon Press, 2024, and the debut poetry collection, Library of Small Catastrophes from Copper Canyon in 2019, which was a 2020 Hurston Wright Foundation Legacy Award nominee. Rollins holds an MFA from Brown University and is an assistant professor of English at the University of Wisconsin-Madison and is from St. Louis, which we love. And about Black Bell, I called my younger sister recently, out of the blue. I wanted to ask her about her wedding in July. She'll be marrying the woman she loves. And we talked a little bit, as we've started to begin to do, about how as 2 half-Black girls growing up in Kansas, both born in July, we didn't have a bodily language for much. We didn't have a historical language for much. What we had were people on the street pointing at me and saying, huh, she got the hair. And pointing at her and saying, huh, she got the skin. But I recognized while talking to her, our conversation quickly unraveled into something like poetry, and suddenly we were just women in the world. Definitely a conversation of the soul. We both learned the language somewhere. I learned mine from books like Black Bell, even though there aren't really any books exactly quite like Black Bell. We fought to find the language in some way, sure, but it was already there for us. It was laid out in beauty and blood for us to find. All we had to do was pick it up. And I think, you know, something, Jacqui, that you said at the start of your reading, we discussed the seemingly constant use of the term unprecedented times and how frustrating it can feel. There is nothing but precedent, I said. Joy and hope are what kept them alive, she said, and history and community. Black Bell is a gift. It is history, and perhaps more intensely, it is memory. The collective historical memory that reminds us of precedent. The relationship between history and memory that is wispy and tenuous and so profound. The way a story or a word can change everything. A structure, a courageous line of poetry can change everything. But it also begs the question, who is fighting for this language? Who really is fighting for a body that doesn't look like theirs? And what about a body of work? This book is truly page after page of impeccably inventive structure. The turns are intense, the surprises settle in the reader's gut like a stone in the soul, and they fly away to find someone else. And when I hung up with my sister, I felt lighter, more seen. I opened Black Bell to a random page. I'd already read it start to finish several times. And I found, I'm not gonna read it just in case, a stout poem whose body resembles the body of my 9-month niece called Live Long and Prosper. And it knocked the wind out of me truly, and I cried after not crying in months. And my only wish from this book is that I could somehow go back and hand it to those little girls in Kansas and give some of the language to them then. So thank you, Alison, and please help me in welcoming her.
A bell's dome represents the whole universe. The flat bottom represents the earth, and the hollow inside represents the space between the rest of the universe and the earth. When you strike a bell, it sends a message from earth out into the universe. Before reading, strike a bell tuned to E, the note connected to the solar plexus chakra. Black bell. If you look the sound, dead in its mouth, you will see that it smells like the eyes of spoiled eggs, like a moment passed too quickly and not quickly enough. You will find black bell in a mess of trees, where time barks and leaves offerings of yellow gold, where the blackbirds blanket the blackened river, where one can barter with their peace in pieces. Another way of saying, you are not your flesh. Further proof that loneliness has hands. Black bell is the space inside her. Hollowed, haloed, halo. Thank you, beautiful people, for having me here tonight. It's a wonderful space filled with a lot of love. It feels really beautiful to be back home. Shout out to Aaron, Lizzie, and Bailey for organizing. Jacqui, it's a pleasure to read with you, sincere pleasure. Dwight, Jason, Ted, Eduardo, James, so many wonderful faces to see again and be in community with. This book is called Black Bell. The image on the front is an image of an archival piece. A woman that was enslaved was forced to wear this as punishment for trying to run away. And so I did arc welding and I constructed this, the actual image into an embodied piece that I wear in performance. It's too heavy to bring with me on the road, but on the picture on the back, I'm wearing the structure on my back. This piece is called A Bell is a Messenger of Time. To be performed with bells on. All reading is performance. Some performance is reading. The next heavy load is lightheaded. The single sound everywhere at once. Black bell, have you any cool? May all enemies be this ridiculous. You put a face to the name of my noise, the sum of a shadow invisible to whom. Can't you hear me coming? A pyramid of bells singing from between my ears. That's why when you speak of me, my ears ring. Ring with the melody of 1,000 tambourines. To get ahead of myself, I got freedom off my chest. I'm a woman in the company of bells. Am I their company? Are they mine? No one seems to have a handle on the hex. From the tattletale town crier, you looked at me the wrong way. I was moved, surrounded on all sides by bells, barnacle bells, irremovable attachments. Even when I ghost you, still hear. Even when I ghost you, you still hear me coming. Even when I ghost you, you still hear me fixing to arrive. A jingle of labor, a jingle of labor from on high, a jingle of labor from on high. The sound takes a toll on the body. The crops respond well to sound waves. You hear the river before you see it. Ever-present eavesdropper, a bell is a messenger of time, a bell is a messenger of time. Don't kill the messenger. Make a killing with the message. Forgive me not. The bells run interference, ring and remove. The bells place head over heels, head over heels, head over heels. The bells place head over heels. The mind left in the dark, in the thicket, where all the clocks have stopped. When all the clocks stopped, I laid my burden down. Hearing, the last sense to escape the body. I second Jacqui. I just want to say it like make noise. I second Jackie's approval of making noise. It's great to be back in St. Louis too, because two of my high school educators are here, which warms my heart. I'm a proud graduate of Nearing Hall High School. When you're in St. Louis, you have to shout out your high school. It's honorary. So shout out. This next poem is called St. Louis Blues, based on the composer Handy's St. Louis Blues song. St. Louis Blues. Old school players to new school fools posted up along the Mississippi River. The city unites us in our derision. We swim the Delmar Divide and decide which world to enter. The palms of our hands fractured street maps. The houses' faces are missing brick teeth, cavities of have-not at the roots. For play, God made the gateway arch a swing. Handy pushes gently so I don't spill my pop. Pineapple vest gives piss a run for its money. The C of my middle name stands for Canada. On the outskirts of Forest Park, I was born a maple leaf rag. A work of fire, a little star, shout out one day before the 4th of July. I'd rather be a comet, but I'm a wife now, with fingers full of diamond rings, a husband with a heart hard as a rock cast in the sea. All day men drink and women cry over love lost and lost love. You don't get to hate St. Louis. You don't get to hate it unless you love it. Oh, it's only been 7 minutes. Wow. Oh shit, okay. There's more, I promise. Okay. What the lyric be? That was terrifying. Wordsworth, b-boy, beatbox, vocal cord, code switching through the wheat fields at daybreak, clicking teeth against the corn tile, thighs, the morning the moon forgot how to speak Twi. The cicadas having screeched all night, like a man who has forgotten his name. Calling out the leaves of grass, as though stalks of letters at right angles have meaning, a way of theorizing the rhetoric of beauty. A fig tree trembling at the rain's hungry lick, a finch weaving myth into a nested crown of logic, the wildflower's arms on dial-up internet, a virgin using the petals as her service provider. He loves me not, he loves me not, with every flick of her wrist. The wind knowing the typeface her lips are set in, pockmarked cheeks peppered with salt, the politics of resentment seasoning the spittle. True poems flee, 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 flee. True poems flee, 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 like a slave in Mississippi, like a slave in Mississippi. Googling home with no filter or cookies. The tuning forth having shorted in the eardrum's mouth. The devil was in the details when he read the star's hands. Prongs were sort of steam dancing, the clouds roll tongue. Wet and pregnant with words so soft the dirt could swallow the sound. What must we remember to forget how we were born? When we ask for advice, it is rather for permission, for we know that what we do it in free will. A robot puts a conch shell to its lips and blows. A man puts a seashell to his ears and hears the ocean. Tell a lie long enough. Tell a lie, tell a lie, tell a lie, tell a lie, tell a lie long enough, and it will surely turn to truth. Tell a lie long enough, and it will surely turn to truth. Tell a lie, tell a lie, tell a lie long enough, and it will surely turn to truth. Okay. I'll read a little queer ditty for you all, called But for the Love of God. I am a woman. Undone, a woman is a man. I am a woman who gave birth to the idea of a man who could outdo himself only if he tried. To make love to my namesake, I take up my strap-like arms, for in fact she wants no part of any man. To piggyback on the mention of her pink, I'm feeling myself. There are women who have cut off whole parts of themselves and done it in the name of love. When I straddle a man, I too can get carried away. In the holy book to come, I have a cow as a horse. You will die from laughter at the sight. I have beat a thing to death and called it horseplay. As good as dead, I'm not of this world but in it. I began in no man's land, a nobody. I waited for God to count me in, to send me to a city made of fire. Okay, I think I'll read two more, is that okay? Okay. All right. Quartet for the end of time. 1. If you play me, then you play yourself. That was all the dead needed to say. To get the better of time, we got better with time. I left my body and took on the look of a man. I made him an honest woman. A diagram of this sentence built a structure made from wind. Inside that house is a box. Inside the box is the head of a goat. Inside the goat, a knife's quiet song. The blade of desire is the silver in my teeth. My mouth has a certain ring to it. 2. I will take you now to afterlife's kitchen, where the salty girls cure meat with their tears. Only through time is time conquered. Come correct, come prepared to sit at the table of contents. We bow our heads, count our blessings like little pigs, while the kingfisher waits for a shaft of sun. Sprint, said the bird, for the foothills of truth. Stop, 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 said the bird. There is mischief afoot. Then we sat and ate with our hands an entire field of wild time. When asked to choose a hill to die on, We wanted to kill the bird. To reconcile our pain, we made the stars into a bear. Myth made all the difference. 3. If your wrist holds a 5-nailed star, clock the T. Who can open the door tonight and not see themselves in black? Not I. For thousands of years, I have sat on a milk crate. Stationed at the crossroads, I sing, bone, 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 bone. I don a yellow jacket and foxgloves to push out the sun. The morning is such a production. A ghost aghast at the sound of singe, a crown knot of fire. There's no sense to be had in the country of our making. This language, a garden of strain. No living soldiers, we march to the drum of it because if it's moved, a woman was cursed. A woman was cursed. 4. When I was sold down the river, God set down his book in the shape of a tent. That day I was born again, my limbs American letters. The stairway to heaven is yellow-boned legs, antiqued in their quadroon rust. At the gate to eternity, a lawn jockey grins, wide as the science of mercy. In his hands, a badminton racket. He swats and we see how they run, how crickets gallop in the dark like horseflies. Heaven is 1,000 chandeliers, every crystal a single body, each head a grisly sparkle. Thank you again for your time, your energy, for sharing space with me. I appreciate it. This last poem is for Marvin Tate. It's called Beware of the N-Word. Newsroom, nasty, never, never again. Nonfiction, Nino, 1999, Neptune, Nantucket, Nairobi, Nicaragua, Newark, Nigeria, no count, non-subject, noisy neckties, necromancy, near, nothing, newbie, new, no, narcolepsy, newfangled, not, new nibble, neighborhood, no, never, nihilist, nonsense, nuclear, neutron, normal, native, nimble, Nia, names, Nathaniel, she said no, neckties, naysayer, numerator, nadir, normal, Nike, non-stop, nail, notice, naughty, negroni, there ain't no space for, there, no, Master God, neckties, nose hairs, she said no, never Newark, Nixon, she said no. Thank you.
More heat. I forgot my things. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. I'm just emotional. Okay. I would like the both of you to come back up, please, and have a seat. I'm gonna ask a couple questions and then we'll open it up for a couple, as in 2 audience questions. And then poets will be signing books. Please buy books. Amazing. How do you want to do mics, Lizzie? Because I can shout. I can shout very easily. I can't even.
Were you guys gonna pass that one? Yeah, okay. Is that one on?
It may have got turned off.
Testing. Perfect. Tech guy, turn it on. Yeah. Uh-oh, I'm gone. So now you have to shout.
I can shout. Okay, I won't shout. All right, so first of all, thank you so much. Truly, like yeah. I'm kind of stunned. Lizzie was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "I don't know," but we'll find out. I'm really not gonna ask about like craft or anything. More so, I'm just gonna ask about the emotional shit, because that's what I do. But I'm curious when, and we talked about it a little bit at dinner, but what did you find when poetry first found you? What was that experience like for you when you go back and think of that initial kind of spark? What did it for you? What did poetry do for you that drew you to it?
Because it was close to me. I think often I appreciate that Lucille Clifton poem opening us up. I think often of the poem, Won't You Celebrate With Me? I think about the magic and joy of language. I've just been a language nerd and geek my whole life. I think coming to poetry through journaling or trying to write through my emotions, make sense of my feelings and my lived experience just happened kind of organically for me. Yeah.
I think a similar thing to me, for me, that it was the first thing that it was like the first opportunity for self-expression without any oversight. And I think a lot of young people like crave those kinds of spaces. But I also had like, I think for a lot of writers have like different stages of their relationship to poetry. So like my very first stage was certainly writing a poem and having like my favorite teacher or my favorite librarian be like, this is so good. And I was like, I'll write more if you like it, right? But then I think my own personal relationship to writing in that way that just sort of felt really organic was definitely through self-expression. And then I think I had a new relationship again when I discovered performance poetry in undergrad and like the magic of a stage, which to me is different than a reading. And not necessarily like a slam, though the slam context is like really kind of nurtures the kind of thing that I was looking for. But I think that was the first time I had an opportunity to like physically embody a poem, which was like really foundational in me, like just learning about my body and like settling into like your body as a young person can be tricky, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, that's great. My only other question, I mean, I have a million, but I can only choose two, as you can only choose two among all of you, was there anything in experiencing each other's poetry tonight, is there anything that felt familiar to you, whether that's stylistically or emotionally in the work of each other?
I think Jacqui's command of language is so powerful, so resonant. Yeah, I think that I've tried to lean into what I call a type of scatting in this particular book of language kind of displacement and fracturing. And I feel like your command of language is just so strong. Thank you, Jacqui.
Yeah, I think the scouting for me reminds me of like the possibility of language, which is like as much what you can communicate when you're putting things together and when you're taking things apart. I think people forget like how much you can actually do with words, that they don't necessarily have to look the way you traditionally see them in order. Like sometimes you communicate a thing better by having it fractured. Like that is the most accurate version of the thing. And so I think listening to you reminds me how much space there is in performance in a way that it very often is different than the actual page, right? Like I don't know, there are a lot of different ways to maybe represent that scatting on the page. But the performance of it is like only captured in the performance, you know? And that kind of specificity is like a way to crack open just like the sheer range of possibilities of the ways that we can communicate with each other. And to me, like one of my favorite things about poetry, I always say like in a poem, gravity doesn't have to exist. Like you make up the rules, you know? And I think that's true for all writing, but I think poetry is something that like listening to you reminded me that like that is the gift of the thing.
Yeah, I will say, I mean, I feel so, I already felt so lucky to have experienced the work on the page, but then to get a chance to hear both of you and see both of you and experience both of you truly celebrate and perform the work is just a totally, yeah, I mean, it's like a totally different experience, but so resonant of what I still, you know, it's like, no, seeing a baby all grown up. Like it was the weird, like you're familiar, but this is also so full. And so I'm very grateful to have experienced the work here tonight too. So we have time for 2 questions. Yes.
I'm very fascinated by Allison's trajectory to the work. I don't know if she remembers sharing this with me, but she shared a story about being in a classroom and having the teacher give the students a wrapped gift. And then the exercise was to everyone unwrap it just a little until you get to the last student. And then after they got to the last student, the teacher then informed them that that is why you should keep your virginity, because no man wants something that's been picked over, opened up, and defiled.
I have a product of Catholic schooling.
So my question is, how does experiences like that just say and turn into the work about another body, the enslaved ancestor who's tortured / shamed? How do you think that informed where you came to this work?
This is what happens when you go home. Yeah. I tried so hard to escape St. Louis in so many ways that it was impossible though. I think the resonance of religion in my schooling all the way till college is irremovable from my sense of place, time, my writing itself. I've tried so hard to let Catholicism be set aside, and it still emerges and it appears without my conscious doing or trying. Yeah, I'm fascinated with liberation. I think in this book, I'm fascinated with love. I'm fascinated with the power of freedom seeking. Yeah, I don't know quite how to put my finger on that question thoroughly or to do it justice, but I'm interested in liberation at its core. I'll leave it at that. Thank you, Judge.
One more.
How do you guys conquer like the fear of putting yourself out there in poetry, like putting something so personal on a page and publishing that? Because I feel like I struggle with that, of like looking at my own brain on a page and like, oh, you're gonna read this. So how do you like conquer that mindset, or is it conquered?
I don't think I've conquered it. I was joking about running away after reading my last poem. It's a joke and also like, is it? Right, like when I first started doing slam poetry, I used to perform sometimes without my glasses so that I couldn't see people clearly. So like there are things that you can do to sort of like trick yourself into being brave until you find a way to be brave. I think finding other people, those can be other poets who can help you be brave, remind you what it feels like to be brave. Like I think it's a constant thing you're practicing. There are some poems that take time to put out into the world because they might be braver than you are, right? There are times when you feel really brave, but you can't figure out how to put that, like, it's a negotiation, I think, always that you're like returning to and practicing. maybe there are some poets who are like, I love it. I'm not scared. I don't know them. I'm not that person, right? But I think the payoff of the risk is the kind of person it's asking me to become by doing that practice. I don't know. There are a lot of poets who would say like, I write poems to like connect with people, and I think that is part of it. But it's also like, I'm aspiring to be a kind of person who can like hold this poem properly. I am aspiring to be the kind of person that I'm aspiring to be the kind of person who will like fight for the world that I am writing about in my poems or struggling through or part of, right? Like I'm always, it's a practice. It's a constant practice. So I don't think you ever get over the fear, but I think you negotiate with it. And I think you find other people to help you negotiate with it better.
Yeah, I think not every poem is for every audience. I write a lot of humorous poems. I write a lot of queer poems. They don't often make the publishing page technically, but I think it's important for me to have that distancing at times. And I think poetry really, what you were talking about in terms of language, it's a playground for me where rules really aren't part of the game as much as in prose. And so I try to keep that delight and that joy there and present and keep it playful in terms of my engagement with language and what the poetry page can do.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm a sucker. Jason, did I see your hand?
Yes, you did. First of all, thank you both for a lovely, lovely reading. This has been just a highlight of not just my day, but this is a highlight. I needed this tonight. Yeah. So my question for both of you would be, and I'm always curious about this, where do you see the role of the poet right now? What is our job?
Sorry, I do have, it's something I've been thinking a lot about, because I get really frustrated with artists who assume that they occupy a certain space in society just by virtue of them being artists. I think it is our responsibility to be constantly practicing and aspiring to be the kind of people who produce the kind of art that we say we want to produce. I think in this moment, one of our jobs as, at least to me, I'll say this, my job I think as a poet is to focus less on producing or writing poems that tackle XYZ and focus on being the kind of person who writes those poems. Does that make sense? I think artists can sometimes hope that there's a shortcut. And I think that people who love and enjoy art can hope that there's a shortcut. I think it's really important to be the kind of people who produce the art that you're looking for, as opposed to focusing on how do we make the art. The art will happen if the person is that person, is aspiring to be that person. So I think for me, the work for artists, the work for people, the work for, I think for a lot of folks, but I'm trying to put it on me, is to work on being the kind of people who can care for the world we say we want to build together. The art will come. The other stuff will come. I'm not gonna stop writing poems, but the poem comes after I'm the person. The poem is like the space that encourages me to keep aspiring, to keep being brave, to keep messing up and correcting myself, to keep, like, it is the thing that I am moving towards, right?
Second all that. I'll say again also as a new parent, again, love and liberation are at the center of my practice and my doing. Keeping a child, a human being alive is so present and so demanding and in the moment. And that presence is a type of attention I want to linger on and maintain. Love and liberation, that's it, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Again, thank you all so much for being here. Thank all of you for being here, but yeah, I mean, you just gave us so much. So thank you for sharing it with us, and we'll do. couple of final things and then you'll be done with me, I promise, for now. Please buy books. Please buy books. You'll be glad you did. Our poets will be hanging out and signing them for you. Yes, yes, yes. And quickly, I would like to tell you about some upcoming St. Louis Poetry Center events. Also, if you become a member, you'll know about this stuff so much faster. So do that. QR things. They're back there. They're back there. I can point your way. Anyway, okay. So on March 16th, there will be a Sunday workshop. Alana, raise your hand. Alana is our Sunday workshop guru at the moment, and hopefully for a while. That will be Allison Funk at 1:30 p.m. here at High-Low. On March 25th, there is a Poetry at the Point reading, which takes place at Focal Point. It's in Maplewood, 7:30 p.m. We've got Scott Berzon and Michael Pfeiffer. April 2nd, there's a SLU partner reading, Robert Fitterman and Safa Khatib. That's 7 p.m. here. Sunday workshop on April 13th is Rosalie Moffett. That's 1:30 p.m. here at High-Low. And that is kind of feeds into, is in relationship with the next Observable readings. We want to see all of you here. Bring someone too. We love it. And that is April 14th, Erica Lewis and Rosalie Moffett, 7 p.m. here at High-Low. And then on April 22nd, there is a Poetry at the Point reading, Andrea Scarpino and Eric, how do I say his last name? Just, can someone tell me? Doisy, thank you. I was like, Doise? That can't be right. 7:30 p.m. at Focal Point in Maplewood. So grab yourself one of these. They do exist, because you're not going to remember all that. I'm not going to remember all that. And get books. Thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it.